Thank you. Welcome, everybody. For the last number of years, we've done, it's become very popular. I don't think any thanks to me, the question and answer portion of our ceremony. I'm Todd Eichow. I've been announcing Valpo University Athletics events since 1991, so almost 30 years. So a lot of times the committee members come up and they ask for my opinion, and we got two people here tonight that I never saw play, which is the first time that's happened. So congratulations. Jeanne has one of the most impressive resumes I've seen, starting with the fact that when she was a student here, there really was no women's NCAA athletics. So to make the Hall of Fame as an athlete when there wasn't even women's athletics is quite an accomplishment. Maybe you can explain this. So you did represent Valpo University, although there was not team women's sports back in the 60s like there was now. Maybe you start with that.
Okay. When I came to Valpo in '59, they had basketball, women's basketball, and I have to tie this in. Chuck, I don't know if Chuck remembers the women's basketball rules, and I'm sure there are very few of you in this room that remember women's basketball rules. There were 6 people on the court at one time. However, only 4 at one end each time, which meant 2 people ran back and forth from end to end, and the other 2 stayed there. You could switch off. Now, the other fun things, you only got 3 dribbles. Now, you basketball people, what can you do with 3 dribbles? Not much. So none of us really learned how to dribble. As far as, but they did have basketball. We played a few games. We practiced maybe once or twice before each game, and that was pretty much it. In tennis, no tennis, and I think partially because of me, they and a few others that could play tennis, we started a tennis team, and we went to DePaul and Kalamazoo and a few, I don't remember all the places, but anyway, so we finally had a tennis team. And the St. Louis, what happened to be at that time where they held the National Collegiate Championships. That was my hometown. So it was real easy for me to participate in those tournaments. And I played a lot of tournaments in St. Louis. In field hockey, again, there was no team. I didn't know anything about field hockey, but Ruth Brown started, sophomore, junior year, I'm not sure which. None of us knew anything about field hockey. Our coach didn't know anything about field hockey. We learned as we went along. We played teams, other teams. I remember one game in particular. It's where I think the parking lot is out here now. It was a field, and it had rained. It was muddy, and we were caked in mud when we got done. And I think we probably played in the rain. I couldn't get my clothes, I couldn't get my sweatshirt clean or the tunic that we wore for weeks. I washed it and could never get it clean. It was caked with mud. Badminton, we didn't ever have a badminton team. And I had to take all kinds of sports in class as a physical education major. Well, because of my tennis, I picked up badminton very quickly, went down to a tournament at Purdue, and proceeded somehow to win that tournament. I didn't exactly use classic badminton tactics, but I used tennis tactics and they worked. So I guess that pretty much covers my sports.
It was completely different than it
no
is now.
Title IX.
There was something you didn't even have, there was no organizational team. You kind of just formed things with your friends, and you mentioned Ruth Brown, but there really wasn't a regular coach for these teams really at all either.
Well, Ruth Brown did the basketball.
She drove around. She drove you around, right?
Yeah, and she learned, as we all learned in field hockey. And basketball, she coached the basketball, and we were nothing special there. Badminton, I was pretty much on my own. What else? Basketball, field hockey, tennis. Carol Gowans took over the team there. I believe that was our coach, and I pretty much helped coach it at the time.
I always like to ask about your favorite memory as an athlete. I know you mentioned great run in a tournament in Cincinnati, and I know at one time you actually played Billie Jean King, right?
Twice I played her.
Okay.
Once was in the National Clay Courts in Chicago, and I'd like to say I had a 7-5 first set with her. However, the second set was 6-love. And I think I went like 3-2 or 3-4 with her on the National Junior Grass Court Championships. So that wasn't too bad, but she wasn't quite at the top of her game at that point. But I was very proud of the 7-5. And I think that was, I don't know, I don't know if I was still at Valpo or not that year.
I can't remember back that far either.
You probably weren't even born.
All right, let's talk about post Valpo,
Okay.
because you had as Mark already said, an incredible career as an official. How did that take place?
Well, again, as a physical education major, I had to take officiating as at least part of one of my classes, and I just kind of gravitated to it, and I continued with it when I went to grad school at the University of Wisconsin, and I got certified as at that time, NAGWS, I believe it was, certified official in basketball, volleyball, and I worked on, not that at that level, but I got rated in field hockey as well. So I just kind of continued as though after getting my master's, I taught at the University of Detroit, which is now Detroit Mercy. And then we started a family, and I was looking for something to do. I'm not exactly the stay-at-home type, but I wasn't going to be full-time with small children, so I started doing officiating sports in the afternoon. And I did field hockey and basketball and volleyball at first. And then later on, I picked up lacrosse. As I told Sarah, I was looking for a spring sport more, and I did one soccer game. I got rated there. One soccer game, my first game, the other official doesn't even show up. I'd never played soccer. I had to do the game by myself. It turned out okay, but I just kept doing a lot of games, and the state gets ratings from the coaches, and I got rated highly, and so I eventually got to do the state finals in volleyball. And as I progressed in lacrosse, I did 3 state lacrosse finals also, which was kind of a neat experience. And after the volleyball one, vacations finally kind of meshed between my husband and myself. We started taking vacations for fun.
You must have done very well, because you made it in the officiating Hall of Fame. We've seen some very poor officiating during our basketball season this year. We wish we had Hall of Fame officials. But congratulations on that. And before we let you go, anybody else you'd like to thank? Any other memories you want to tell us about?
Well, Ruth Brown was sort of my mentor in a lot of things, and I always admired her because she didn't necessarily know everything about whatever sport she was doing, but she was always willing to take advice and listen to her players and learn. In fact, I don't know if I should say this, but anyway, in tennis, we'd get together before the classes. She was teaching the tennis class. We'd get together, and I'd go over what things she should teach and lesson plans and everything. So basically, I taught the class vicariously with her. At a speech class that I dreaded. I put it off till my senior year, took it, and enjoyed it immensely. And what was the other thing? I used to follow basketball when Chuck was the year behind me, and my brother, who's sitting over there, he was a freshman, I was a senior. We drove down to Evansville, Indiana they were in the NCAA's play. I don't know if that was quarterfinals. Was that quarterfinals, Chuck?
I used to take 8 teams to the finals in Evansville every year.
Okay.
And,
Yeah. Well, we drove. Unfortunately, they lost.
The Elite 8. Yeah, we lost in the first round.
Okay.
First Valpo team ever to get there.
But that was a fun experience, even though they lost. Oh, and the other thing about tennis, I had trouble finding people good enough to play tennis. I played with one of the religion profs, Kenneth Corby. He was my main practice person because he was a pretty good player, and that's really all I had.
Jeanne, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.